Hello and welcome to lesson 3 of week 13. In this lesson, we are going to try to animate elements using CSS. My name is Mildred. I have created this page and I have added a globe on the page, and we're going to attempt to animate this globe or demonstrate animation using the globe and then other elements on the page. So I have the index2.html file and the main.css file here. Now recall that in previous lessons we have created this sample web page to demonstrate the grid view layout, and we are going to apply animation to this layout structure. Now in CSS we can actually make a transition from one style to another or from one element to another, and for this we use a rule called the keyframe rule. So I'll go to my style sheet. We use something called add keyframe, written like this. When you specify a keyframe, you have to put a name for the identifier. So let's say we want to have a name called animate. What are we trying to animate? So let's go to our page. Let's say I want, when we hover around these links, I want this to, let's say, rotate 360 degrees, change the background color, just something fun. But this is not the best application of animation. We're just using this to illustrate how we can use animation, and then you let your imagination tell you what to do with the things that you learn. We want to animate the hover functionality of the nav links. When we use the keyframes and give it an identifier, we have to specify which style we want to change from what style to what style. We want to change this, and so we put animation name here to bind this to the animate keyframe. There's another property called animation duration, which will tell us how long we want this to run. Let's say we want it to run for 4 seconds, like this. Now, what is that property that we want to change? What is that style we want to start from and change to during the animation? I'll come here to my keyframes rule and say I want to start from a style called transform. Now we don't have a transform style here, but I'll say that we'll put the rotate from 0 degree since we have no transform style here. And I want to also take the background color from the current background color, which is at 0099cc, and I want to change it to transform. Let's say I want it to rotate now to 360 degree, and I want the background color to be red at the end of the rotation. So let's go over this again. To start using animation, you must specify the keyframes rule and give it an identifier. The identifier can be any name you want, provided that you bind that name to the elements or the style you want to apply that animation to by specifying an animation name to be equal to the identifier of the keyframes and the duration you want the animation to run in seconds. Within the keyframes rule, you specify the style you want to change from to the style you want it to be at the end of the animation. When I save this and I refresh my page and I hover, it's going to rotate this 360 degrees from the beginning to the end of the animation. And we notice that at the end, the background color is red, just as we have specified. So this is one basic use of animation. There are several applications of the animation. You can maybe want to change the text color, maybe not for hover. Maybe want to do things like the globe on the page. We want to rotate this globe on the page. So let's go and see what this is. So we'll have the image tag. Let's give this image an ID of, let's say, animate. We'll come to our style sheet. We'll create a style using the ID selector, and then we are going to put the style we want for that globe image. Before then, we have to specify the keyframe. So for every animation, you have to have a new identifier. So let's say this is going to be called rotate. We want to rotate the globe. And we want to rotate the globe with an ID of animate. So here, I'm going to put the animation name as rotate, and I'm going to put the animation duration as, let's say, 10 seconds. And then within the keyframes, I'm going to define what I want. So for it to rotate, I want to start from a transform of rotate, let's say rotate Y to be 0 degree, to a transform of, let's say, rotate Y to be 360 degree. I will save this. Let's refresh our page to see if this rotates, and then we have the globe rotating 360 degrees. We specify 10 seconds as the animation duration, so after 10 seconds, the rotation stops. There is a property we can use to make this animation continue infinitely, and we call that property the animation iteration count. We can specify that in the style animation iteration count, and we want to say infinite. So you can specify any number. Maybe you want it to run 2 times, 3 times, to have the circle of animation 2 times. So after 10 seconds, it starts again until the count number you have specified here. But I want it to continue running infinitely. So I'll put infinite, refresh my page, and this animation never stops. So we can animate different elements on the page. We can make the elements do what we want it to do for as long as we want it to do that. And so we can see that this animation never stops. If we want it to spin faster, we're going to change the animation duration to like 2 seconds, save, refresh, and then we have this spinning faster. And the way you control the speed of the animation is by specifying the animation duration. There are other applications we can do, like instead of rotating this animation, let's say we want it to move from one end of the screen to the other and appear back at the other end. We'll specify another keyframes rule. Let's say keyframes, and I want this to be, let's say, slide. What I want the slide to do is from, let's say, margin. So I want it to start from the left, so I'll put margin right. So from margin right at 100% to margin left at 100%. The name of this animation is slide. So I'm going to change this name from here, from rotate to slide, so that we can apply this to the same image. I'm going to change the duration here to be 5 seconds, so it can be slower. Refresh, and then we'll have it running from the left to the right, starting back from the left. And we have it doing this an infinite number of times. So where this can be applicable is where you have news and events. You want the news running on the screen. It will run every news you have and then start all over again from the side of the screen. So there are different applications to this, and there are different ways you can enhance these styles. We have other properties and value for the animation. We have something like animation delay. So let's say animation delay here. So we know what this is. It's just the number of time, or the amount of time in seconds it should take before the animation starts. So if we say we want this to be 2 seconds and we refresh our page, we have to wait 2 seconds for the animation to start. So it doesn't just start when the page loads, but it starts after the delay period has elapsed. We have another property called the animation direction, and what this direction does is just to specify if we want it to go in reverse, to go in alternate circles, or we want it to go back, to go forward, which is supposed to be like the normal. Let's specify reverse here, and when we put reverse, instead of going from left to right, it will start going from right to left. And so that is what we use that to do. So we can reverse the animation like this. So if you want your news to come from the right, going to the left and appearing at the right, you put the style, you reverse using the animation direction property. We have the animation timing function also that specifies the speed curve of the animation. It might not apply so much here, but we have animation timing function, and it takes values like the ease in, out linear. And we saw this in the transition also, where we have the transition timing function. You can try each of the value to see which applies and if your style needs to have things like that. We have the animation fill mode property written like this, animation fill mode. So what we use the animation fill mode to do is to specify the style for the target element when the animation is not playing. And so I wanted to try all of these different properties and values, try different applications, and remember that in web development, your imagination is what makes you a good developer. So we have something called the animation property like this, and the animation property is a shorthand for writing the animation name, the duration, the timing function, the delay, the iteration count, and the direction in that order. So if I put the animation name here to be slide, the animation duration here to be 5 seconds, the animation timing function to be linear, then the animation delay to be, let's say, 3 seconds, then we have the animation iteration count to be infinite, or let's say we want it to just happen 2 times, and then we have the animation direction to be, let's say, alternate reverse, and then I'm going to delete all of this. So we have used the animation shorthand to specify all of the values, and I refresh my page. So we don't have this applying. It's not playing. Let's say we want it reverse, because alternate reverse might not apply to this style. We refresh and wait for the delay period, and we'll see it running. So when you try your styles, you know for the kind of animation you're doing, which value will not be possible. Apart from using a from and a to, you can use percentage from 0%, at 25%, at 50%, at 100%, and this percentage of the duration that you have specified. So thank you, and see you in the next lesson.